Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. We've been talking a lot about tropes lately, and this time is going to be no different, so let's just jump right into it. You saw the video title, you chose to buy a ticket anyway. We're going to talk about foreshadowing. I swear, sometimes people are just born in this world specifically to piss me off. No, this isn't going to be a response to that video. I found when I started to write this, I don't even need to watch it to know the person who made it is probably a complete jackass. So what is foreshadowing then? Well, foreshadow, like any trope, is a literary tool. Foreshadowing is what allows an author to hint at events that happen later in a work so they don't come out of left field. It's what allows narratives to have a concise A to B to C procession. One example of this being done is in Harry Potter.
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
Actually, come to think of it, Harry Potter uses the foreshadowing trope a lot. But one notable example is in the first book. Hagrid mentions borrowing a flying motorcycle from a man named Sirius Black. Come book 3, we find out how important this particular man is, and in book 5, we learn that Hagrid and Sirius were part of the same group under Dumbledore in the war against Voldemort. Even for the events within book 1 itself, there were hints to the nature of Professor Quirrell, such as the smell coming off of his turban, or the fact he never takes it off. When used correctly, foreshadowing is not only a good narrative tool, but an essential one. It's about as basic of a tool as a hammer. All stories have structure, and foreshadowing is the binding that keeps the structure together to keep everything logically coherent. Luke being able to turn off his targeting computer and make a 1 in a million shot to blow up the Death Star foreshadowed when he was training with the lightsaber on the way to Alderaan. Or the fact in Devil May Cry 1, you see the boss Nello Angelo has a strikingly similar appearance to the game's protagonist, Dante, only to discover in Game 3 it's his twin brother Virgil. Stuff like that, basically. However, it's not always used well. Take for example a recent event in One Piece, Luffy getting his new super form. Yeah, I'm gonna piss on the One Piece fandom's parade. If anyone remembers my Twitter activities, you know I have been doing that for a while. Yamato is a woman, Kiku was born a woman, and Luffy getting Gear 5 was poorly foreshadowed. What do I mean by that? Compare it to the thing that the fandom compares it to constantly and irritatingly: Goku getting Super Saiyan for the first time. At the end of the very first arc, the Emperor Pilaf arc, Goku transforms under the light of the full moon into a giant ape. This is the first hint at Goku not being quite human. Well, the tail was a hint, but the kind of world Dragon Ball is, a tail is kinda plausible. Oolong even makes a crack about the possibility of Goku being an alien. Come the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, Goku meets his brother Raditz, who reveals that he is indeed an alien, a Saiyan, a race of humanoid warriors with immense powers and monkey tails. Raditz also makes allusions to serving a greater group alongside two other Saiyans, and when Raditz is defeated, those other two Saiyans pick up what they heard on Raditz's scouter and find out about the Dragon Balls, and would come within a year's time to claim them. These Saiyans, Vegeta and Nappa, make a reference to a Super Saiyan and seeking to overthrow their boss. After Nappa kills most of the Z fighters and then gets killed by Vegeta, the remaining team have to go to Piccolo and Kami's original homeworld, Namek, where they encounter the Saiyan's aforementioned boss, the galactic tyrant Frieza. Vegeta then tries to deliberately force himself into becoming the Super Saiyan of legend, out of a belief that Frieza wiped out the Saiyan race out of fear of such a legendary figure being stronger than him. The only problem was Vegeta's body was not ready, and he ended up paying the price for it with his life. But when Goku witnessed the seeming permadeath of his best friend Krillin, he attains the form that was foreshadowed since the start of Z, but also in a sense, built up to since the start of the manga itself. Compare that to Gear 5, which was a logical path that if Luffy was able to use his gear forms, he'd eventually find a way to pass the barrier to a 5th form. But it happened while his Gear 4 forms, yes, plural, were still new. Furthermore, the nature of the form required a bit of a retcon. During the Wano arc, it is revealed that Luffy's power, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or the Gum Gum fruit, a devil fruit that we believed until that point gave him rubbery properties as a paramecia fruit. A fruit that, okay, look, you're just gonna have to go with me here. Going into the fruit categories would derail the entire conversation. Looking at you, Katakuri. Anyway, it was revealed that Luffy's devil fruit wasn't what we were told it was, but a Zoan human fruit model Nika. Who is Nika?
I don't know.
We don't find out who Nika is until a good way through the next arc, and even then, not that much. All we really need to know is he's who Luffy's powers come from. That's it. Sure, it's cathartic to see Luffy punch the bad guy like he always does, but with Gear 5, it lacks a proper foreshadowing and makes it feel a bit unearned. And the funny thing is that One Piece has numerous examples of foreshadowing being done masterfully. Take for example the very subtle nod to Sanji's origin being from North Blue. In the story arc revolving around the island of Jaya and the Sky Island, Sanji makes a mention of having heard a story of the ancestor of a man they met, Montblanc Cricket, whose ancestor, Montblanc Noland, was the subject of such a legend in North Blue. The fact that he knows this story at all is a hint to his origin. 10 years later, we find out Sanji has the surname Vinsmoke when his newest wanted poster was published. And later still, we find out the story behind his family. It's a central element of the Whole Cake Island saga, all stemming back to a hint from 10 years prior. There's a name, at least on TV tropes, for when foreshadowing is either poorly executed or not executed at all. That name is Asspull. Other examples of this include Hans being a villain in Frozen, the existence of the Black Star Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball GT, and pretty much everything to do with Kaguya Otsutsuki and Naruto. Stuff like that, basically. The reason these things were bad is that they had little to no foreshadowing, and thus came out of left field. Because of that, the plot lost its logical and narrative cohesion, and it broke the audience's willing suspension of disbelief. Gee, it's almost like foreshadowing is not good writing is advice against actual good writing when every time it's not properly used, it creates bad results. In fact, this is the biggest problem with the J.J. Abrams mystery box style of writing.
Hold on! You have a choice. You can have the boat or the mystery box.
What, are you crazy? We'll take the boat.
Oh, no, not so fast, Lois. A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat! You know how much we've wanted one of those.
Then let's just...
We'll take the box.
The reason the mystery box style of writing has become so resented is that it abandons the entire idea of foreshadowing, as well as several other basic writing tropes, in favor of pushing bad storytelling that is disguised as good storytelling by the twisted words of snake oil salesmen. It's like the DC Comics event Armageddon 2001. To elaborate, Armageddon 2001 was a DC storyline on the level of Infinite Crisis, without the universe reset at the end, that was published in 1991. The story involves a hero from the future, Wave Rider, who travels back to the past to prevent the face heel turn of one of Earth's heroes who becomes the villain known as Monarch. The issue is, though, is that Wave Rider doesn't know who Monarch is under the mask. Midway through the event, though, in early comic book forums on the primitive internet, some fans figure out through foreshadowing that Monarch was going to be revealed as the hero known as Captain Atom. The issue is, though, the editors thought this was a bad thing, so they demanded the story be rewritten so it's revealed that the hero named Hawk from Hawk and Dove would become Monarch after they already established it couldn't possibly be Hawk. An outright defiance of foreshadowing that ruined the event and ruined the villain concept forever. Even when they finally did make Captain Atom become Monarch, it was tainted by the decision to defy the foreshadowing because comic readers had good media literacy skills, and I say that unironically. Like I say with every trope, it's all down to the user. But what I can say for sure is that foreshadowing is essential for narrative cohesion. A lot of examples of it being used poorly are really examples of it not being used at all. From Gear 5 not having that much build-up, all the lore tied to it coming in the arc after it as a seeming justification afterthought, even if Oda already had the lore in mind in its head, to Prince Hans of the Southern Isles being a villain without any build-up, being the result of a hasty rewrite to change the character focus onto Elsa, to Armageddon 2001 outright defying foreshadowing to, quote, subvert reader expectations. It cannot be denied how essential of a tool foreshadowing is to stories. It's like salt. You can't make a meal out of it for sure, but if it's not there, you will sure notice the absence, even if the chef tells you he's using a special mystery box seasoning instead. So yeah, that's the whole reason I decided not to respond or even watch the video essay I referenced at the start of this video. We have enough problems with media and literature in the modern day without people getting bad advice from attention-seeking weirdos on the internet. Yes, I'm aware of the irony of that statement. Anyway, that's all I gotta say today. This has been the Koopa Man. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe as it helps my channel grow. Have a look at my channel as well and you may find other videos you may like. If you have other examples of foreshadowing, either done well or done poorly, talk about it in the comments as I'd love to read more. And until next time, game on.